In the sleepy town of Willow Creek, where the grass never grew too long and the houses seemed plucked from a glossy magazine, life hummed along with a predictable rhythm. The streets were lined with manicured lawns. Picket fences gleamed white under the sun, and the residents be some silent pact kept anything unusual swept neatly under the rug. It was the kind of place Officer Daniel Rivera had dreamed of when he traded the sirens and grit of urban policing for what he imagined would be a quieter beat. A speeding ticket here, a missing cat there, nothing he couldn't handle after years of chasing down real trouble in the city. But Willow Creek had a surprise in store for him, one that wore floral blouses and carried an unshakable sense of entitlement. The self-dubbed Willow Guardians, known to everyone else as the Marjorie mob. Daniel had been on the job for barely a month when he first crossed paths with them. He'd pulled over a teenage kid for blasting through a stop sign on Elm Street, tires squealing like a banshee. The kid, all acne and attitude, had smirked and said, "My mom's going to have your badge for this." Daniel, unfazed, scribbled the ticket and sent him on his way, thinking nothing of it until Marjorie Pierce stormed into the station the next morning, her heels clicking like gunfire on the linoleum floor. She was a VY Shaun of suburban fury, blonde hair teased into a helmet, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose, and a voice that could shatter glass. "Officer Rivera," she'd barked, slamming a manicured hand on the counter. "You harass my son like he's some common thug. I demand an apology and your resignation, effective immediately." Daniel had blinked, caught off guard by the sheer audacity. "Ma'am," he'd said, keeping his tone even, "your son ran a stop sign. I gave him a ticket. That's my job." Marjorie's eyes narrowed to slits. "Your job," she hissed, "is to serve saw, not to terrorize law-abiding citizens." She'd spun on her heel and marched out, Leah VYing a trail of lavender perfume and a promise that this wasn't over. She wasn't alone in her crusade. Marjorie had assembled a posse of like-minded enforcers, each as formidable as she was absurd. There was Claire, the wannabe documentarian who lived behind her phone camera, always shouting, "This is going VY row," whether she was filming a fender bender or a squirrel crossing the road. Next came Evelyn, the rumor mill incarnate, who could spin a tale so wild it'd be halfway around town before the truth even laced up its shoes. And then there was Trish, the group's legal scholar, whose expertise came straight from late-night scrolls through dubious online forums. Together, they formed the Marjorie MOBA suburban storm front, hell-bent on bending Willow Creek to their whims. At first, their antics were a minor annoyance. Daniel dealt with daily calls about suspicious active VY tie that turned out to be delivery drivers dropping off packages or kids playing tag too close to Marjorie's prized hydrangeas. Claire once cornered him outside the grocery store, camera rolling, accusing him of intimidating the public because he'd asked her to stop blocking the sidewalk. Evelyn spread a story that Daniel was a rogue cop who'd been fired from his last precinct, a lie so blatant he'd laughed when he heard it. Trish, meanwhile, mailed him a cease and desist letter, citing Section 7 of the Patriot Act, which didn't exist, as grounds to stop issuing parking tickets. Daniel filed it under nonsense and moved on. But the Marjorie mob didn't stay petty for long. Their grievances grew bolder, their interference more brazen. It started with Marjorie chaining herself to a stop sign on Oak Avenue, declaring it unconstitutional after Daniel ticketed her for parking in a fire lane. "This is tyranny," she shrieked as Claire streamed the meltdown live, racking up a dozen VYUs, mostly from Evelyn refreshing the page. Daniel had to call on backup to cut her loose, all while she wailed about her First Amendment rights being trampled. The next week, Evelyn staged a citizen's investigation into a raccoon rummaging through trash cans, accusing Daniel of neglecting public safety when he refused to arrest the animal. Trish followed up with a 10-page lawsuit filed at the station, demanding his badge for failure to uphold the law, a document so riddled with typos and legal gibberish that the desk sergeant used it as a coffee coaster. Daniel tried to keep his cool. He'd dealt with worse drug busts, bar fights, actual criminals, but the mob's relentlessness wore on him. Every shift brought a new complaint, a new confrontation, a new headache. He'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling of his modest rental, wondering how a town so picture-perfect could harbor such chaos. His patience was a fraying rope, and the mob was tugging hard. The tipping point came on a crisp October morning. Daniel was sipping coffee in his cruiser, enjoying a rare moment of peace when dispatch crackled through. Disturbance at Willow Creek Park. Suspicious group active VY tie. He sighed, expecting another false alarm, but when he rolled up, he found Marjorie and her crew in full regalia-matching teal T-shirts emblazoned with Willow Guardians, protectors of justice surrounding a bewildered jogger. Claire's camera was rolling. Evelyn was shouting accusations of trespassing, and Trish was VYing a clipboard like a battle standard. Marjorie stood at the center, megaphone in hand, bellowing, "This man is a threat to our community." Daniel stepped out, coffee still in hand. "What's going on here?" he asked, already dreading the answer. Marjorie whirled on him, eyes blazing. This intruder was running at an unsafe speed, endangering children and pets. The jogger, a lanky guy in his 30s, threw up his hands. "I was going like 5 miles an hour. It's a public park." Daniel rubbed his temples. "Marjorie, he's allowed to jog here. You can't detain him." She smirked, undeterred. "We're making a citizen's arrest." "It's all right." Trish nodded sagely. "It's in the Constitution. Article 12. Daniel didn't bother correcting her. There was no Article 12. "Move along," he said firmly. "Now." Marjorie crossed her arms. "Make us." It was the wrong day to test him. Daniel set his coffee on the hood of his cruiser, pulled out his cuffs, and stepped forward. "Marjorie Pierce, you're under arrest for unlawful detainment and public disturbance." The mob gasped in unison. Claire shrieked, "This is oppression," and kept filming as Daniel cuffed Marjorie, who flailed dramatically, yelling about police brutality. Evelyn fainted into a bush, and Trish dropped her clipboard, scattering papers across the grass. The jogger, wide-eyed, muttered, "Thanks, man," and bolted. At the station, Marjorie's arrest lit a match under the mob's already volatile egos. She spent a night in lockup, emerging the next day, not chastened but emboldened. By noon, she'd posted a tear-streaked VY Deo titled, "I was silenced for defending Willow Creek," edited with mournful piano music and clips of her in cuffs, conveniently omitting her attempt to arrest a jogger. It went VY row locally, amassing thousands of VYUs and splitting the town in two. Half saw her as a martyr. The other half saw her as a menace. Protesters swarmed the station, while VYing signs like "Justice for Marjorie" and "Cops Hate Freedom." One kid held a placard reading "Legalize Running," which Daniel secretly admired for its creative VY tie. The chaos didn't stop there. Marjorie, now a self-styled revolutionary, rallied her troops for their boldest move yet. Late one night, under the cover of darkness, the mob convened in her sprawling colonial home dubbed Guardian HQ, its walls plastered with slogans like "Take back our streets" and "No more tyranny." Marjorie paced before Claire, Evelyn, and Trish, her eyes gleaming with manic determination. "If Rivera won't listen," she declared, "we'll make him. We're taking over the police station." Claire gulped. "Like with guns?" Marjorie scoffed. "No, with authority We'll arrest him Trish frowned. "That's not legal." Marjorie waved her off. "Legality is a construct. We're the real law here." At dawn, they marched on the station in matching black T-shirts reading "Willow Creek Liberation Front," armed with stacks of official documents printouts from conspiracy blogs and a petition with 12 signatures, 9 of which were their own. Daniel was mid-bite into a donut when they burst through the doors, Marjorie at the helm. "Officer Daniel Rivera," she boomed, slamming her papers on the desk. "You're under citizen's arrest for crimes against this town." The desk sergeant snorted. "Get out." Marjorie pointed at Daniel, who'd wandered in from the break room, donuts still in hand. "Cuff him," she ordered. Claire lunged forward with a pair of toy handcuffs from Halloween costume. Daniel sidestepped her effortlessly. "Marjorie, this is trespassing. Leave, or I'm locking you all up." She laughed, a sharp, unhinged sound. You can't arrest us. We're the people. That's when she made her fatal mistake. In a burst of fury, she grabbed at his badge, clawing at his chest. The room froze. Claire's phone clattered to the floor. Evelyn shrieked. Trish whispered, "Oh no." Daniel didn't hesitate. In seconds, Marjorie was cuffed again, sputtering as he read her rights. Assaulting an officer, trespassing, obstruction. Should I go on? The mob wailed as he marched her to his cell, Claire filming the whole debacle through tears. This time, the consequences stuck. Marjorie's second arrest sparked a reckoning. The Willow Creek HOA, long terrorized by her demands banning wind chimes, mandating beige curtains, called an emergency vote. The meeting hall overflowed with fed-up residents, and when the president announced Marjorie's expulsion from all HOA active VY ties, the cheers shook the rafters. In court, her laundry list of charges earned her 300 hours of community service VYC, a doula, $5,000 fine, and a restraining order barring her from the station. Her mugshot hit the internet, spawning memes and t-shirts captioned Marjorie's meltdown. She tried one last stunt, fleeing to nearby Pine Hollow to expose their sheriff, but was promptly arrested for disrupting a town hall. Daniel got the text from a chuckling colleague. "She's yours again, huh?" With Marjorie gone, Willow Creek exhaled. The mob dissolved. Claire pivoted to baking tutorials. Evelyn chased a new scandal. Trish faded into obscurity. Daniel resumed his quiet patrols, the town settling back into its idyllic rhythm. But he knew, deep down, that peace was temporary. Somewhere, another Marjorie was brewing, ready to unleash her own brand of chaos. When that day came, he'd be ready, coffee in hand, cuffs at the hip, and a wry smile for the absurdity of it all. The Marjorie wars might be paused, but in a world of entitlement and delusion, they'd never truly end. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.